Incredible journey. Black CEO discovered $5 billion in funding after being pulled off plane by security. Marcus stood in Billy Bishop's International Airport, a tailored suit hugging his frame and the weight of his hopes resting heavily in his briefcase. Today was the day he would finally present his tech startup's proposal, promising to bridge economic gaps in communities just like the one he grew up in. But just as he stepped towards the gate, security called his name, harsh and unyielding. "Sir, we need to speak with you." The words hung in the air, slicing through the buzz of the crowd. Humiliation washed over him as he was pulled aside, the curious glances of passengers piercing through his dignity. Among them stood a group of young entrepreneurs, eyes wide with disbelief, disillusionment creeping into the respect they held for him. His mind raced back to his grandmother's porch, the faint glow of the light wrapping him in memories. "Respect comes from hard work and honesty," she'd always said. But here he was, stripped of that dignity in the middle of a bustling airport. His chest tightened, doubt pooling in the depths of his gut. Would they see him for who he truly was, or just another name on a list? As he stepped out into the city, the angry determination boiling within him transformed into a sense of purpose. The streets of Cleveland had shaped him, and the crumbling buildings reflected the very struggles he wanted to change. Each block was a reminder of the challenges that loomed over his community, the decaying infrastructure that he had vowed to fix. He encountered childhood friends with weary faces, their laughter was still there, yet it had dimmed under the heavy weight of disappointment. He reached a coffee shop, a haven where the aroma of fresh brew filled the air. There, he met Sarah, a bright-eyed entrepreneur with an unyielding belief in the power of innovation. As he shared his vision, he saw her face light up with possibility. Sarah quickly introduced him to local business owners, each as passionate as he was, their voices merging into a symphony of hope. They strategized, the vibe electric, their skills and expertise blending like colors on a canvas. "This is more than a business," Marcus said, the fire igniting in his belly again. "It's a movement." He felt the support of the community surrounding him, lifting him higher. Suddenly, a phone call shattered the moment. A connection began to unravel before Marcus, $5 billion dangling tantalizingly in front of him. But then the realization hit. The funding sources were wrapped in morally dubious practices, a sticky web that threatened everything he believed in, everything he stood for. He found himself standing at a crossroads, the echoes of his grandmother's teachings stirring within him. The path ahead shimmered with temptation, yet deep inside, he felt a battle raging. Would he forsake his values for success? Or would he fight for integrity and the community that formed the heartbeat of his dreams? A storm brewed within him, the tension choking his breath. The question loomed as he stared down the road, flickering lights reflecting both possibilities and consequences. What would he choose? The city around him buzzed with potential as he faced the decision that would define not just his future, but the future of those who looked up to him. What would he do next? Marcus took a deep breath, the cool evening air filling his lungs as he stepped away from the vibrant gathering at the coffee shop. The decision weighed on him like an anchor, dragging him down into the depths of uncertainty. As he wandered through the streets of Cleveland, the colorful graffiti murals whispered stories of hope and resilience. But today, they felt muted, drowned out by the chaos swirling in his mind. He spotted a group of teens playing basketball, their laughter ringing sweetly against the fading sunlight. It reminded him of his own youth when unbridled optimism clashed with harsh realities. They looked up at him, their eyes filled with admiration. In that instant, he understood he was more than just his ambitions. He was a beacon, a potential leader for the next generation. But with that role came responsibility. Marcus felt the weight of his choices pressing heavily on his shoulders. As he continued to pace, visions of his community's future flickered in his thoughts. A future where kids didn't have to worry about shattered dreams or financial despair. He could create jobs, ignite innovation, support education. But could he do it without compromising his values? The tension made his stomach churn. Drawing from the energy of the city, Marcus paused near a familiar park, a place where he had once played, a sanctuary for growing dreams. He closed his eyes, the echo of his grandmother's wisdom flooding back. Integrity is your greatest asset. But what if that integrity cost him everything? Suddenly, his phone buzzed, a reminder of the looming deal. He opened the message, and his heart raced. The investor wanted to meet. Tension coiled tighter in his chest. Would they truly see his vision, or just the green in his eyes? He couldn't shake the feeling that temptation was close, like a shadow lurking just beyond the edge of his vision. Taking a seat on a bench, he pulled out a pen and paper, scratching notes feverishly. What could he offer that was different? How could he rise above the noise without losing himself in the process? Each line he wrote was a promise to the community that shaped his soul. As dusk turned to night, Marcus glanced up and spotted a flicker of movement. It was Sarah, her bright energy unmistakable. She approached with urgency but let out a breath as if she had been holding something back. "Hey, I heard the news," she said softly. "There's talk about the funding, but I want you to remember the why behind your dreams." Her words hung in the air between them, the weight of understanding palpable. "You don't have to go at this alone, Marcus. There's a community ready to back you. Let's figure out a way to make this work together." In that moment, something shifted within him. The decisions didn't have to be made in isolation. The lesson of unity surged through him, igniting a spark of clarity. Could a grassroots approach be the answer, one that brought together like-minded souls for the greater good? Hope began to flicker anew, but it wasn't without doubt. Could they really build what he envisioned with integrity, or was he still flirting with danger? As he gathered his thoughts, determination surged within him again. He would not let fear dictate his choices. The heartbeat of the city mingled with his own, fueling his resolve. While uncertainty lurked in the shadows, so did possibility. The question now pulsed in his veins: how far could they go, and at what cost? Marcus turned to Sarah, a plan brewing in his mind. "Let's make it a movement, together." But as they spoke, a sudden shout echoed from the park. A commotion broke out, drawing their attention. What was happening? In that moment, the stakes felt sharper than ever. What lay ahead was uncertain, but one thing was clear: this journey had only just begun. As they rushed to investigate, Marcus felt the weight shift, the thrill of impending change buoying his spirit. What awaited them just around the bend? As Marcus and Sarah sprinted toward the park, the sounds of chaos grew louder, punctuated by shouts and laughter. The mix made his heart race. What was happening? The path was illuminated by streetlights, their glow giving everything a surreal feeling. People began to gather, forming a circle, whispers flowing like a current through the crowd. "Come on, what's going on?" Marcus urged as he pushed his way through. Sarah followed closely, her expression a mix of excitement and concern. They finally broke through the throng and saw a pair of kids laughing and dancing around a small fire pit. But it wasn't a regular fire, it was the old canister that once contained used paint. It seemed harmless enough, but the risk it posed was clear. Flames flickered dangerously as the kids tossed random bits of paper into the blaze, and Marcus felt a surge of panic. "Hey! Be careful," he shouted, cutting through the noise. The kids froze momentarily before turning to him, faces glistening with mischief. In their eyes, he saw both rebellion and the need for guidance. "Don't worry. It's safe," one boy exclaimed, his voice a mix of bravado and youthful naivete. Marcus's heart sank. That bravado could easily lead to trouble. "Listen, you need to put that out. It's not safe." He stepped closer, his hands raised in a calming gesture. The tension in his chest shifted, he could feel the responsibility of being a role model blazing bright within him. Sarah stepped beside him, her voice soothing. "They're just trying to have fun, Marcus. But he's right, this isn't the way." Time slowed as laughter from the crowd surged around them, conflicting with his sense of urgency. This isn't just fun. It's about more than playing games. What if someone gets hurt? What if a fire spreads? Her words had a calming effect, and he could see the kids gauging their actions. But their laughter had drawn in more kids, eager to join the spectacle. This group needed direction, and at that moment, Marcus felt it was his responsibility to step in. What if we start something different? A competition. Marcus proposed, his mind racing for an idea. A fun competition, right here. The crowd murmured, curious. We can show everyone how to have fun without risking anyone's safety. Yeah. Sarah's voice soared over the chatter. Let us organize a game of basketball, or maybe a fire performance where you can showcase skills in a safe way. Their excitement shifted the crowd's energy, curiosity replacing the earlier chaos. One by one, the kids began to toss away their makeshift fire fuel and move toward the center where Marcus and Sarah stood. That's it. Marcus felt a rush of relief and pride. Engaging them was better than lecturing. Let us give them a chance to shine, create something together. We can build this community the right way, hand in hand. As Marcus watched the kids start to gather teams, laughter echoed across the park. He felt a sense of connection wrapping around him. But as the games began, a lingering thought nagged at him. This was just a moment, a flicker of hope. Would it last? Could they harness this energy for something greater? Just then, a figure broke through the crowd, a frown deepening as they approached. It was a local authority figure, someone known for strict enforcement. What is going on here? They bellowed, a tension crackling in the air. The atmosphere shifted again, anticipation thick enough to cut. The stakes had risen. Marcus could feel his pulse quickening as he realized the night's excitement hinged not just on the competition, but on how they navigated this impending confrontation. What would happen next? Would he rise to the occasion? Would this unexpected challenge bring them closer together or shatter the newfound momentum? Marcus's heart hammered as the figure approached, a weighty presence that seemed to suck the joy from the air. It was Officer Gerald, a stern-faced man in a crisp uniform, known for his strict demeanor and zero-tolerance policy. The past few years had seen him patrol these streets, keeping a taut line of order where chaos threatened to reign. What is going on here? Officer Gerald's voice boomed again, cutting through the chatter. He scanned the scene, taking in the makeshift basketball setup and the excited faces that surrounded Marcus and Sarah. The spirit of the gathering flickered uncertainly like the flames from moments before. Officer, we were just trying to have a little fun. A community game, Marcus replied, forcing confidence into his voice. He stepped forward, feeling a mix of adrenaline and determination wash over him. We saw some kids playing with fire, so we thought we could organize something safe instead. The officer's frown deepened, eyebrows knotting together in disbelief. And you thought a little game amidst all this noise would solve that? Do you have a permit for this? In that moment, Marcus felt the warmth of the crowd's energy shift, apprehension creeping in. Kids exchanged glances, some started to back away, uncertainty creeping into their previously gleeful expressions. For a moment, every face felt like a question mark. But deep down, he knew they couldn't let this slip away. No, sir, he admitted, his voice steadier now. But sometimes a moment of connection can lead to better things. We were encouraging each other, helping the community bond and keep safe at the same time. The officer narrowed his eyes, clearly unconvinced. What you're doing is reckless. Gatherings like this bring trouble, and I won't allow it. Marcus's gut twisted. He could sense the kids' enthusiasm fading, their earlier excitement teetering on the edge of disappointment. But it doesn't have to end like this. He argued. We can make this a positive experience. We want to show everyone, kids and adults alike, that together we can build something meaningful. Please, just let us finish this game. Marcus, Sarah whispered, a hint of caution threading through her voice. But he pressed on, unwilling to back down. Let's make this a community event. You're a part of it too, Officer Gerald. We could organize fun activities under your supervision. We can create a sense of pride here. The officer hesitated for a moment. His tough exterior wavered as he surveyed the sea of young faces and their flickering hopes. Marcus felt the tug of possibility, but he knew it hinged on this moment. He needed to help everyone believe in something greater than fear. Fine, Officer Gerald finally said, albeit reluctantly. But only under clear conditions. You'll get this area cleaned up, keep it organized, and no more fire hazards. And I'll be watching you closely. Cheers erupted, relief washing over the crowd like a cool breeze. Marcus felt the weight lift. A sense of unity restored itself as basketballs were picked up again and laughter bubbled back to life. As the games continued, he caught Sarah's eye, and they shared a knowing smile. They had turned a moment of potential disaster into something good. But as the night wore on, he couldn't shake the feeling of gazes fixed on him, waiting for him to prove himself as a leader. And then, just as the game grew intense and lively once more, a piercing scream broke through the joyful shouts. Marcus's heart froze. What was that? He breathed, eyes darting through the throng of players who now paused, confusion etched on their faces. The crowd's laughter stilled, replaced by tension, a ripple of worry spreading like wildfire. Something was wrong. What had happened now? Would he be able to harness this unexpected turn, or was the night spiraling into chaos once more? Marcus's pulse raced as he scanned the area, searching for the source of that horrified cry. The basketballs halted mid-bounce, and a hush fell over the crowd. Eyes widened, breaths were held. He could feel the weight of all those little hopes he'd just rekindled, hanging in the balance. Everyone stay calm. He shouted, trying to project an air of confidence he didn't entirely feel. Let's see what's going on. People began to murmur, and the worried faces shifted like leaves in the wind. Through the unsure crowd, he caught sight of a group of younger kids clustered near the edge of the makeshift court. Their expressions were a blend of shock and fear, and he instinctively pushed through the throng, Sarah close behind him. When they reached the kids, Marcus's heart dropped. One boy, Danny, was sitting on the ground, cradling his arm with tears streaming down his cheeks. He had fallen while trying to impress his friends with a tricky move, and the skin on his elbow looked raw and bloody. Danny! Marcus knelt beside him. What happened? I fell, the boy gasped between sobs. I wanted to make a shot, but then I tripped. Marcus's instinct kicked in. Hey, it's okay. You're gonna be alright. Sarah, can you get some water and a towel? She nodded, her expression now focused and serious. Turning back to Danny, he noticed he wasn't just shaken up physically. There was fear in his eyes, fear of what the officer would think, fear of letting everyone down. You made a good shot, dude, Marcus assured him. You're trying hard, and that's what matters. Accidents happen. Danny sniffled, his gaze flickering to the crowd around him. What if Officer Gerald sees me? At that moment, Marcus spotted Officer Gerald moving toward them, his serious demeanor back in full force. The officer's eyes locked onto Danny, and the little boy's face blanched, anxiety washing over him again. Is everything all right? Gerald barked, his attention directing toward Marcus. Just a little accident, he replied, voice steady yet gentle. He needs some help. Can I take him to the first aid kit nearby? There's no need for concern. Gerald's brow furrowed, but he glanced at the gathering of kids. Make sure he's seen quickly, he warned, and Marcus nodded. The officer took a step back, allowing a small breath of relief to escape his lips, even if he wouldn't show it openly. With Sarah at his side, they gently lifted Danny together. Despite the pain, he managed a weak smile, comforted by the supportive presence around him. You're still the champion, Marcus whispered. Now let us get you patched up so you can get back in the game. Pushing through the crowd, he felt an urge to keep that energy of connection alive. This moment wasn't just about basketball, it was about being there for one another, about community. Each time a bit of laughter broke through the tension, it reminded him that they couldn't afford to let fear refocus their intentions. As they reached the makeshift first aid area, Danny's fear ebbed a little, replaced by the camaraderie surrounding them. Everything felt charged, a magnetic connection pulling them all closer. But just as they began cleaning the cut, another scream filled the air, a different sound this time, sharp and piercing. Marcus turned, stomach churning, knowing this wasn't over. What else was happening tonight? Did they have what it took to stand together and face whatever was coming next? Marcus's heart raced anew at the sound of that scream. It echoed through the night, chilling the air and sending shivers down his spine. He glanced at Sarah, whose eyes mirrored his own concern. Without a second thought, they both sprang into action, leaving Danny with a few older kids who were eager to help. "Stay close, buddy. We'll be right back." Marcus shouted back at Danny, forcing a confident smile that he didn't fully feel. As he and Sarah moved quickly, they could see shadows darting in the dim light further down the path, the crowd's buzz rising into a worried hum. "What do you think it was?" Sarah asked, biting her lip as they navigated through the throng of people. "I don't know, but we need to find out," he said, determination hardening his voice. The screams had subsided, replaced by whispers, hurried footsteps, and the cracking sound of branches from deeper in the park. It felt like everyone was holding their breath, bracing for something unknown to emerge from the shadows. They rounded a corner and spotted a group of teenagers gathered around something on the ground. Marcus felt a mix of dread and urgency. "Let us go," he called to Sarah, picking up speed. They squeezed through between anxious parents and eager spectators until they could finally see what had everyone on edge. A girl, no older than 15, was sitting on the ground, eyes wide and tears streaming. She clutched her side, a grimace of pain twisting her features. Marcus knelt down, his training as an officer kicking in again. "Hey, what happened? Are you hurt?" I slipped on the grass," she stammered, "and then I bumped into a tree branch." Sarah moved closer, assessing the situation. "Can you tell us your name?" she asked gently. "Emily," the girl replied, wincing as she shifted. "Emily, I'm gonna check your side, okay?" Marcus said, speaking softly, trying to ease the fear bubbling in the girl's eyes. As he examined her, he felt the tightening knot of worry in his gut. "It looks like you're bruised, but I think you'll be okay," he said, motioning for Sarah to grab some help from the first aid kit nearby. "Just breathe. We're gonna get you patched up too." The crowd hissed in a collective intake of breath as a shadow moved behind the trees, lurking, creating an atmosphere that was both tense and charged with anticipation. "What if it's a wild animal?" someone whispered from the sidelines, and a murmur of fear rippled through the group. "Could be a dog, or something worse," another added nervously. Marcus gritted his teeth and scanned their surroundings, muscles coiled like a loaded spring. "We can't panic," he said firmly, trying to keep the scene under control, both for him, for the kids, and for the crowd. "Everyone, stay calm. We're trying to help here." Just then, the rustling grew louder, branches snapping as a familiar figure emerged, a tall silhouette stepping into the light, disheveled but unmistakable. "Marcus!" the figure called out, voice strained. It was Officer Gerald, looking more agitated than ever, his eyes darting around frantically. "What is happening?" Marcus shouted back, inching closer to get clarity amid the chaos. "There's been a disturbance," Gerald began, but before he could finish, another scream erupted from the trees, this one more frantic than before. "No," Marcus whispered, dread creeping back in. What had they stumbled into? As the crowd tensed again, all eyes now on the darkened edges of the park, Marcus and Sarah exchanged worried glances. They had to face whatever lurked beyond the branches. But would they be ready for what was truly out there? In that moment, Marcus realized this night was about more than just basketball. It was about courage, friendship, and the unknown threats that could tear them apart. And as the shadows shifted ominously, one thing was crystal clear: they were standing at the brink of something far more terrifying than they could have ever imagined. What would come next? Marcus's instincts kicked in. He could feel the tension in the air, thick and suffocating. The dread coiling in his stomach was almost unbearable. The crowd had turned restless, eyes fixated on the trees, where the source of the screams lay lurking just out of sight. "Gerald, what do you mean by disturbance?" Marcus pressed, stepping closer, his voice steadier than he felt. Every ounce of training embedded in him urged him to stay sharp. Before Officer Gerald could respond, another loud crash echoed through the park, causing several people to jump back. The sound was followed by a guttural growl that sent chills running down Marcus's spine. "Everyone, back away slowly," Gerald commanded, raising his hand. The crowd hesitated, panic etched in the faces of parents trying to corral their kids. "Emily, are you okay?" Marcus asked, glancing back at the girl on the ground. She had turned pale, eyes darting towards the noise. I don't know," she whimpered, clutching her side tighter. Sarah, visibly shaken but still focused, returned with the first aid kit. "Here, we need to apply some pressure on that bruise." "It'll help," she said, but her eyes flickered to the tree-line, anxiety creeping in. The rustling grew louder, accompanied by more snapping branches. It felt like a predator was inching closer. Marcus' heart raced harder as adrenaline coursed through his veins. Time seemed suspended in fear. "Focus on Emily," he instructed Sarah, trying to hold on to a sense of control. "I'll see what that is. Just stay here." "No, Marcus. You can't go alone," Sarah protested, her voice rising as she stepped forward. "We can't risk it." "I need you both safe," he countered firmly, trying to infuse confidence where there was panic. A part of him was terrified. What was lurking behind those shadows? With resolution stealing his nerves, he turned and strode into the darkness, the beam of his flashlight cutting through the fog that had rolled in. "Marcus!" Sarah's voice echoed, taut with fear, but he pushed onward. Each step felt heavier, anticipation growing. As he approached the tree-line, the moonlight bathed the area in an eerie glow. He moved slowly, scanning the area for any sign of movement. The shadows shifted, and his breath caught as a figure stepped out into the light. It was a large dog, scruffy and caked in mud, growling low but oddly frightened. There was something wrong with it. Its leg was caught in some old debris, thrashing helplessly. "Easy there, buddy," Marcus whispered, dropping to one knee. The creature froze, eyes wide and glistening, filled with desperation. "I'm here to help." But before he could reach it, a loud howl erupted from the depths of the trees, sending shivers through him. Something was stirring, and it wasn't just the dog. The crowd was edging closer, trying to see what was happening. "We need to go back," a voice shouted, and the murmur of fear rippled through. Marcus glanced behind him to see Sarah and Gerald appearing, their faces drawn tight with alarm. "Marcus, now," Sarah urged. He hesitated, torn between helping the injured dog and facing whatever had howled in the dark. In that moment, he knew he had to make a choice, one that could lead to danger or salvation. "Stay back," he yelled to the crowd as he reached out to the dog. "I'm going to free him." The night felt thick with uncertainty, every heartbeat echoing the gravity of his decision. He could feel the presence behind him, a palpable tension rising as shadows danced at the edges of the park. The moment he finally touched the dog's leg, another growl pierced the air, deep and menacing. What was hidden in the dark? Was he ready to confront the real threat waiting just beyond the tree-line? In that harrowing instant, the night held its breath, and so did Marcus. The dog flinched at Marcus's touch, its body taut with fear. Marcus could feel the tension in the air thicken, pulling at his instincts. The animal's wide eyes bore into him, pleading for help, but the low growl at the edge of the tree-line reminded him of another urgency. "Stay calm," he murmured, trying to put both the dog and himself at ease. He gently assessed the debris entangling its leg, a tangle of old wire and wood, probably leftover from last summer's concert setup. He had to move quickly. He could sense the shadows shifting, feeling whatever lurked within them growing bolder. "Marcus, we really need to go." Sarah's voice was strained, mingling with the sound of rustling leaves and muted cries from the onlookers. "We don't know what's out there." He glanced back to see her face, drawn tight with a mix of fear and determination. It fueled his resolve. If something was out there, he couldn't just leave an innocent creature behind. "It's okay, I'm almost done." He carefully worked on the wire, each movement deliberate, hoping the dog would remain still. The growls became more pronounced, echoing deep in the darkness, weaving through the trees like a thread of danger. But at that moment, Marcus only had eyes for the dog. With one decisive tug, he freed the leg just as the night erupted in chaos. The howling grew nearer, resonating with an eerie ferocity that seized Marcus's heart. The dog's growling escalated, matching the rising tension in the air. "Let us go, now," Gerald shouted, stepping closer to Marcus, shielding him as best as he could. The crowd was panicking now, pushing back as unseen forces loomed. Marcus looked to the dog, seeing it was finally free. He stood, instinctively positioning himself between the animal and whatever threat was approaching. "Come on, buddy. You're safe now," he said softly, but the fear in the creature's eyes mirrored his own. Another crash reverberated through the trees, and suddenly, a large shape burst forth, silhouetted against the moonlight. The crowd gasped, some turning to flee. It thrashed wildly, filled with primal energy. A wolf, a magnificent creature, but one filled with raw terror. "Get behind me!" Marcus yelled to Sarah and Gerald. He took a step forward, hands raised, attempting to project calm even as the urge to flee clawed at him. The wolf halted, eyeing the scene as if weighing its options, and sensing the chaos unraveling around it. Tension coiled tight, breathing life into the night as Marcus's heart pulsed dangerously fast. It was a game of instinct now, a delicate balance of fear and compassion. The injured dog whined, inching closer to Marcus, who dared not take his gaze off the wolf. It was a moment suspended in time, where everything hung on the edge of a knife, the outcome uncertain. "Please, let us not do this," Marcus spoke softly, terrified of both the beast before him and the consequences of provoking it further. And then, out of the corner of his eye, he noticed something in the shadows, a pair of eyes, reflecting the moonlight, watching closely. Who else was present in the darkness? In that moment, Marcus understood that this night had only just begun, and whatever was lurking out there wasn't finished with them yet. The wolf's breath came in sharp puffs, visible in the cool night air. Marcus held himself steady, not daring to look away. The creature seemed to sense the unyielding spirit he was trying to project. The growls faded into a low rumble, but its wild eyes remained locked onto him, as if waiting for a signal. Just behind him, Sarah grabbed Gerald's arm, her fear palpable. "What's happening? We can't stay here." "Just a little longer," Marcus whispered, maintaining his focus on the wolf. He could hear the soft panting of the dog at his side. It was inching even closer, seeking comfort. The poor thing was scared, perhaps more than he was. Out of the shadows, the second set of eyes glinted again, but before he could turn to assess the figure, the wolf took a step forward. Instinctually, he raised his hands higher as if that would somehow forge a connection between them, a bridge, perhaps, built on understanding. "Please. I know you're afraid." He breathed the words gently, even as his heart raced. "We're not here to hurt you." But was that really true? What would happen if it lunged? Would all of them be caught in the fray of nature's merciless dance? The crowd, now inching further away, was a vivid mix of fear and tension. Murmurs of panic grew louder, bubbling over like soda ready to fizz and pop. Suddenly, one person in the back, a woman with tears streaking down her cheeks, shouted, "We need to go. It's gonna attack." The chaos only stoked the wolf's uncertainty. It shifted from side to side, muscles coiled, ready to pounce or flee. In that moment, Marcus felt the thin line of unease stretching taut, threatening to snap. The injured dog whimpered again, its small body weighing heavily against his leg. Whatever the wolf was, it was still a creature of the wild. It could become both predator and protector in the blink of an eye. A movement in the bushes near the first pair of glowing eyes caught his attention. It was subtle, but it pulled at his instincts. There was more than just the wolf. "Stay back," he called, glaring into the shadows. More eyes blinked back at him, a fleet of glimmers surfacing from the darkness. "We need to move." Sarah's voice trembled again, pulling at his sense of urgency. But before he could react, a sudden roar pierced the night, a thundering growl that sent the crowd screaming and tripping over themselves to escape. The wolf's posture shifted as it turned back momentarily, eyes wide. Marcus gritted his teeth. He couldn't let fear win here. "Please, we're not your enemy," he shouted, forcing his voice to command attention. The wolf hesitated, muscles tensed but unmoving. Or was that just a trick? Was it simply waiting for a weakness to pounce? His thoughts raced to the dog's fearful whines, vivid and raw. "You can stop this," he continued, but deep down, he feared that his words might mean nothing. They were all just rats trapped in this wild maze. Suddenly, a loud snap echoed from the trees. Everyone froze. "Go!" Gerald yelled, shoving Marcus and the dog backward. As the wolf growled fully and the many sets of eyes emerged from the shadows, panic surged through Marcus. He felt the weight of fear in every person surrounding him, but also a hint of courage. "Stick together. We can make it out," he cried, adrenaline taking over. Nyctophobia gripped the huddled group. What still lurked out there? And in that instant, Marcus realized, they weren't just dealing with the wolf. There was so much more hidden behind the veil of darkness. What could come next? The answer hovered just beyond their reach, waiting to be revealed. In the chaotic moments that followed, clarity surged in Marcus's mind. The shadows pulsed with menace, yet he felt an unyielding light glimmer within himself. This community needs a leader, and I can be that leader, he thought as he locked eyes with the wolf. It was a battle of wills, a primal instinct against uncertain courage. "Everyone, listen," he shouted again, his voice ringing above the growing panic. "We can't run. If we stick together, we'll find a way out. We're stronger as a team." With those authoritative words, he felt the weight of leadership settling on his shoulders, igniting a fire deep within. As the crowd gathered closer, the wolf fidgeted, its primal instincts at war with an unexpected understanding. It seemed to recognize the tension among the humans, its growl quieting, eyes flickering between fear and curiosity. Sarah clutched Marcus's arm. "What do we do?" she whispered urgently. For a heartbeat, he felt the world drag to a standstill. He knew they had to control the fear of the unknown, to redirect that energy into something constructive. "We need to create space between us and those eyes in the dark," he declared decisively. "Slowly, everyone back up. No sudden movements." Together they took a step back, moving as one. The injured dog bristled beside Marcus, seeming to sense the tension lightening, while the wolf's gaze softened just a touch. "Easy now, we're not a threat. Let us find common ground," Marcus coaxed, inching forward steadily. But just as he did, a flicker of movement caught his attention. The figure hidden in the shadows darted forward, revealing an entire pack of wild dogs that skittered into view, drawn out by the noise and confusion. Gasps echoed from the crowd, panic bubbling again. But Marcus took a deep breath, forcing steady determination to resonate in his voice. This isn't a threat. They're scared, just like us. With his words, he began to take a chance. He turned back to the wolf, setting a hand down on the ground, palm open. I'm here to help. You don't have to fight. His heart raced as he took a step closer, maintaining eye contact with the wolf. The canine pack manifested before him, hesitant yet curious, and the wolf finally relaxed its stance, easing closer to Marcus as if recognizing the potential for a truce. What is happening? Someone from the crowd murmured, the tone shifting from panic to awe. We're going to show them that compassion can defeat fear, Marcus replied forthrightly, his heart swelling with understanding. If we embrace them instead of running, maybe we can create a bond, something they won't forget. The pack stirred, and slowly, as if in a wave, the wild dogs followed the wolf's lead. Marcus moved closer, breathing in the fragrant night air, feeling both terrified and exhilarated. Would they accept him? Together, we can protect each other, he pleaded, stretching out his hand. You're not alone, we stand united. And as if the world exhaled, the wolf took a cautious step toward him. It nudged its head into Marcus's palm, and he felt warmth pulse through him. The crowd witnessed the momentary union between man and beast, barriers breaking down right in front of their eyes. Now, he said gently, looking at Sarah and the crowd, we need to protect the kids. Our friends. Let us nurture the future together. Hope flickered anew, wrapping its arms around the whole gathering. One by one, the pack began to relax, realizing they were no longer intruders or threats. They were guests, and here was a community willing to foster that connection. Marcus's spirit soared as cheers erupted. Kids jumped and danced with joy, excitement flickering through the once frightened crowd. In that moment, under the stars, they were stronger together. As the adrenaline coursed and the crowd rallied, he exchanged glances with Sarah, an unspoken understanding drifting softly between them. This was just the beginning, and they were on the verge of something extraordinary. The movement they dreamed of was alive, beating like a drum in the night. But as the laughter filled the air and the games resumed, he held tightly onto the promise made to himself and his community, a commitment to unyielding integrity. The weight of the night's events shifted, marking his resolve to uplift those he cared about. And then, as the moon cast its silver glow, he felt a sense of purpose, radiant enough to define the future ahead. Together, through struggle and triumph, they would build a bridge of hope and strength, crafting a community invaluable in its solidarity. The real journey had just begun. So here's where you come in, friends. Subscribe immediately to the channel to not miss the next exclusive stories. This is the moment to show your support. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and boost our community. Don't wait not even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. Your support is what makes us stronger together.